Well, hello everyone. This is my third video. So the first one was on best places in the United States. Second one was on best colleges. The third one, I'm trying to make important things, or at least try to say at least the few important things to start things off. And this one is going to be on, it's kind of a slash identity versus the 1970s NHL. And I'm going to give you 5 to 10 minutes on why I think this is important, okay? That everybody should know. So, first of all, if you're ever interested in reading this book, it's called Hockey Night Fever. It's a great book. I'm actually only a quarter of the way through it, but it's got a lot of great information on it. And what they're going to do is talk about, well, it starts off talking about some players in the 70s. I'll just show you some pictures here so I can just get rid of my iPad here. This is Derek Sanderson in the 70s, the Boston Bruins. Okay. There's the golden boy, Bobby Orr. Okay. Boston Bruins. This is, I think his nickname was the Hammer, Dave Schultz of the 1970s Philadelphia Flyers. Okay, Dave Schultz. And the last one, but not least, is Bobby Clark. And I'll show you that picture in a second here. As soon as I get my iPad going up again here. But, so, what I want to start off here with is we're going to go through identity, the Hershey Bears, which is a hockey team, it's a minor league hockey team in Hershey. And then we're going to go through the NHL. All right. So, by the way, this is Bobby Clark right here. This is Bobby Clark. That's Ken Dryden of the Montreal Canadiens. That's actually Phil Esposito, the Boston Bruins. This is the New York Rangers and the Boston Bruins having a fight down here. Alrighty. So what got me on this topic was I started reading this book because I was interested in the 70s hockey, and I started realizing, I'm a big identity guy too. It's like, who are you? What do you, and I'm actually 56 years old and still contemplating these issues. It seems like I've had 9 lives, 10 lives. You have to go back to some of your earliest memories. And I would say some of mine was 6th, 7th grade. Now I started winning some math competitions in 7th grade. I went to Milton Hershey School, which we had excellent facilities. We had an outdoor hockey rink, and we had the Hershey Bears, which is a minor league hockey team, which I was saying for at that time, the Washington Capitals. And so we go see their games. So during the 70s, I started playing a lot of hockey. And actually, I played on the Milton Hershey hockey team. We stunk. I played goalie, and we were getting outshot 55 to 5 and losing 15-0. Even though I did very good. And then I ended up playing on the All-Star team, and this is probably 7th, 8th grade, and it was a traveling All-Star team for the Hershey Cubs. We were the Hershey Cubs, and we actually won the international tournament in Quebec in 1978. Teams against Finland, stuff like that. So it's like a big deal playing in front of 16,000 people, and we go out on the ice and we have little miniature chocolate bars, and throw it out in the stand and stuff like that. So it was, fans loved it and stuff like that. But it got me thinking, with all that, and I played other sports, and I did my own school. Not hardly any girlfriends. It was a boys' school. Not that I wasn't interested. But I started realizing at that time period, it was just a great time period in American life, because so we go see the Hershey Bear games, and back then there was no helmets, long hair. You see the pictures here. I mean, you see the pictures of some of these guys. Long hair, these kind of big mustaches like this. And so at that time, around that time period, the NHL went from the 8 original teams to, they expanded and they got the Philadelphia Flyers in, Pittsburgh Penguins, and eventually the Washington Capitals, a few other teams. But the main ones were the original 8, or at least the ones I'm going to focus on, were the Montreal Canadiens were the big team, the Beat. This is back in the 60s. And then, well, the Boston Bruins were getting beat all the time until Bobby Orr came up. And Bobby Orr was a wonder boy. He was a defenseman. He was from Ireland, but lived in, grew up in Parry Sound, Canada, and made it to the Boston Bruins by the time he was 18. And so what happened is during the 70s, the NHL became a fighting league. So what they would do is they'd bring up a bunch of goons from the minor leagues, like the Hershey Bears. So the Hershey Bears would grow up these goons and then bring them onto the ice to kind of beat up the other team. And then you'd still have enough good skilled players to score. So you'd beat up their team, and then your good players would score. And you had players like Derek Sanderson and Dave the Hammer Schultz were 2 of them. And the early Boston Bruins in the early 70s is where they made their name fighting. They were players that had personalities. They would hit to the bar at night. So their mantra was fighting, drinking beer at the bar. Some of them smoked cigarettes, in the locker room, or even probably in between shifts or between periods. And then women. And so even when I was in Hershey, later, this went on. I went back to Hershey and worked at a pizza place. It's called Your Place Pizza, across from where the Hershey Bears played. And the Hershey Bears would come in. And this was just golden times because they all look good. They're sitting at a big table, bar, fur coats and stuff during the winter. Well, they probably don't have cheap fur coats because they're like minor league hockey players. Women, music, beer, after fighting, during the game and stuff like that, busting out teeth. And so it got me thinking here. And then the see the identity issue, Hershey Bears, this is with the minor league hockey team, which I got exposed to a lot of the players that would go up to the NHL and their style of play with the Hershey Bears, which was to fight so that you could make it to the NHL and then to the NHL. And for example, in 1976, the Philadelphia Flyers, this is where during the middle of the Cold War, where the Russians, they were totally feared. The best hockey team in the world came over to the United States and they played the Philadelphia Flyers. Philadelphia said, hey, you know what? We're just going to beat up the Russian team. And so, which they did. And by the end, probably the middle of the second period, or actually it was even sooner than that, I think it was the middle of the first period, the Russians left the rink. Well, they left the ice and went to the locker room and refused to play until, I guess, Philadelphia calmed down their act. Which shows you a lot there, actually, because they got beat up by the Flyers. And anyways, they came out on the ice and Philadelphia won. And this is during the middle of the Philadelphia Dynasty, where they had this singer Kate Smith who would sing "God Bless America" before games, and every time she sang, except for maybe once, they would win the game. And then so this went on for like a year or so. And during the Stanley Cup Finals, she would get out there and sing "God Bless America" before the game, and they'd walk her out, in this carpet, and then she'd sing "God Bless America." The whole place was just going, the Philadelphia Spectrum was just going absolutely bananas. And then the Philadelphia Flyers would come out there with Dave Schultz, Bobby Clark, I was actually a bigger Washington Capitals fan, which I know a lot more of their players, but Machine Gun Kelly, I can't remember his first name. Bob Kelly, they called him Machine Gun because once he got into a fight, man, that was it, man. Machine gun, pop, 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 pop. And so these were tough guys, and they talk straight. They were straight talkers, fun guys. They knew how to party, enjoy life. They were athletic. They had something going for them. And so as I got kind of older, I started realizing, hey, you know what? Especially my age now, I've done other things and stuff like that, but it really comes down to who you are, and even on that Milton Hershey hockey team, we were always trying to fight because we stunk. We were Milton Hershey. The Hershey teams were always beating us. Other Hershey teams around the area were always beating us bad, so we were always trying to fight. And actually, one of my friends, Chuck Calderon, he stunk. He played defense, but he was like into music and filming and stuff like that. And he would try to play like "We Are the Champions," before the games and stuff, like on a little speaker thing system. We'd come out in the ice thinking we were like, oh, we're all good and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's the era of, you talk to a lot of kids these days, they don't really have anything to like identify with. And so me being a hockey player, now I did skate up some too, I didn't play just goalie. And then, us being tough kind of fighters, the locker room stuff, the Hershey Bears, Philadelphia Flyers, you got an attitude of, you're kind of a tough kid, and you showed it. But you're also successful. Like, at least I was somewhat successful with hockey. So if you kind of stunk and you're getting beat up, that's no good. But and then you throw it in with some mathematics and physics, which I kind of liked. And then I started getting into nuclear engineering, and then everything just kind of went into this sports science thing, and then it went up going to basically science. But now I'm coming back to, I'm still kind of a sports guy with this sports attitude, and that's why I kind of like living in New York and living in Brooklyn. I'm kind of this tough kid attitude. And but anyways, I'd be interested to see what your opinions are on what framed you growing up, and I think they were just great times during the 70s. Especially when they were skating with no hair and they were fighting all the time, and even in the penalty box, they put them in the same penalty box, and even they started having a cop with them in the penalty box. They still fight in the penalty box, and you'd have, the whole benches clear and fighting out in the ice. I still remember last thing is one game. This is when I was a kid. I was watching the Washington Capitals versus the Philadelphia Flyers. The end of the game, the Capitals brought out. It was like 1 minute left. There was a face-off. Capitals brought out 5 goons. The Flyers brought out 5 goons. They dropped the puck and they punched each other out. And this is kind of the story of the slap shot with Paul Newman, the movie, where the team stunk. They're trying to win the championship. And, so they bring up these goons, which are the Hanson brothers. And, then they win because of a combination of the Hanson brothers and the coach and stuff like that. And the same thing with semi-pro Will Ferrell, which is, I think it's a great movie. It's, these teams that, they kind of suck, and then, what they try to do to get better, and the antics they do. But this is just one great area in time that I hope people would appreciate, and if you didn't live through it. And after that became the disco era too, which was kind of fun too, with the Bee Gees and all that kind of stuff, and Motown, stuff like that. So it was just a great time period. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.